At first it appears to be a moon. A pale sphere hangs above the black horizon, half veiled by amber haze. Its lower edge is enormous, too close to belong to the distant sky yet too silent to seem alive. Below it, a valley of dark mineral plains stretches beneath violet dusk, waiting under a light that does not behave like moonlight. The object does not rise. It drifts. Its surface carries no craters, no frozen seas, no dead stone scars. From this distance, the texture is almost smooth, but along the shadowed side, faint ridges curve around the sphere in nested arcs. They resemble mountain ranges at first, then they resemble ribs. A slow opening begins near the lower hemisphere, one seam separates from another. A thin line of gold appears beneath the pale outer shell. The light does not shine like reflected sunlight. It glows from inside. The moon is opening. Across the valley floor, mineral structures respond before anything falls. Black spires tilt toward the sky, low crystal mats brighten along their edges. Bowl-shaped plains unfold like enormous flowers carved from stone. The landscape has been waiting for this exact angle, this exact low orbit, this exact beginning. The object above the horizon is not a moon. It is a nest. Its shell flexes outward in slow plates. Rib chambers appear beneath the outer skin, arranged in spirals so large that each hollow could swallow a mountain range. Breathing vents open along the underside, releasing pale vapor that curls downward in silent columns. The sphere shudders once, not from impact, but from internal pressure. Then the first larva falls. It separates from a chamber near the nest's lower rim, glowing softly, wrapped in a transparent membrane. It descends with the slowness of a star crossing the sky. Around it, smaller lights begin to loosen from the same chamber. Then another chamber opens, then another. The sky begins to shed life. From the valley, the falling larvae look like a meteor shower, but meteors burn. These do not. They drift in controlled arcs, each one surrounded by a faint halo that adjusts to the upper winds. Their membranes pulse as they pass through the thin atmosphere. The glow inside them brightens whenever they cross bands of mineral dust. The nest is not scattering young at random. It is releasing them into a receiving ground far below. The black valley changes color. Mineral basins open along circular cracks. Their interiors glow deep green and blue, revealing wet surfaces hidden beneath dry crust. Towering spires unfold tiny fronds, not upward, but outward, forming nets of living crystal that catch the light of the falling larva. The valley is not a passive landing site, it is part of the reproductive system. Each low orbit brings the nest close enough for release. Each mineral valley rises into readiness beneath it. The nest sheds young from above, the ground prepares food, shelter, and chemical signals from below. The sky and valley become two halves of one breeding event. The largest chamber opens next. Walls pull apart in muscular folds, exposing thousands of pearl-like larvae embedded inside rib tissue. Some are still attached by translucent cords, others pulse independently, pressing against the membrane that holds them. The chamber contracts. A wave moves through its inner wall, a cluster releases. Dozens fall together, not colliding, not scattering, but spreading into a wide arc that mirrors the valley below. From orbit it would resemble a constellation slowly descending into a canyon. From the ground, it is as if the night sky has become fertile. Small surface organisms begin to gather. They emerge from mineral cracks, thin and many-legged, with glassy backs that reflect the falling lights. Larger valley creatures lift their hollow crests, letting the glow pass through translucent chambers in their bodies. None of them attack, none of them flee. They arrange themselves in rings around the open basins. They are not predators, they are caretakers. When the first larva touches the valley floor, there is no impact. The membrane around it softens before contact, slowing the descent with a final pulse of light. It lands inside a mineral basin and sinks halfway into the wet surface. The basin closes around it like a hand around a seed. Above them, hundreds more larvae continue falling. Each guided toward a different basin, the nest continues to open. Seen from closer orbit, its scale becomes harder to understand. The pale shell is not a shell in the simple sense. It is layered, porous, scarred by previous releases, and crossed by ridges that expand and contract like breathing bone. Vast vents along the underside pulse with vapor. Between them, ribbed corridors lead inward toward deeper chambers where new larvae are still forming. Nest is moon-sized, but it is not alone. Around its surface, smaller organisms cling to the outer ridges. They move slowly along the seams, sealing cracks after each release. Some carry mineral dust collected from previous valleys, others feed along the vents, cleaning them as the nest breathes. They are too small to notice from the ground, yet each one is the size of an island. The largest animal in the sky has its own ecosystem. As the breeding cycle continues, the valley below becomes a field of stars, not above, but underfoot. Each landed larva glows from inside its basin. Caretaker creatures move between the lights, adjusting crystal fronds, clearing dust and surrounding weak larvae with reflective plates. The falling slows. The nest has nearly emptied its lower chambers. Its inner glow dims from gold to pale blue. Open seams begin to close, not all at once, but in sequence, chamber by chamber, like eyelids folding over a sleeping eye. Vapor thins along the underside. The remaining larvae cling to cords and are drawn deeper into the body. They will not fall this cycle. The nest rises. It does not fly like a bird, and it does not orbit like stone. It drifts upward with slow biological buoyancy, pulled by forces in its own tissue and the planet's mineral field. The horizon darkens beneath it. The valley's glow grows brighter as the sky object retreats. Only now does the scale fully reverse. The moon was a body. The meteor shower was birth. The valley was a nursery. The creatures below were not witnesses, but participants. What looked celestial was ecological. What looked distant was intimate. What looked like the sky was simply another layer of life. By midnight, the nest is high above the horizon again, pale and round, almost motionless. A traveler looking up now would see only a moon. But in the black valley below, thousands of new lights pulse beneath closing mineral basins. The caretakers remain around them until dawn. The spires fold over the glowing ground. The first membranes begin to thicken inside each basin. Something small turns toward the warmth of the planet. Above the horizon, the pale sphere closes its last seam. The moon becomes smooth again. And the valley keeps its stars.